let's start with this. Your job is not who you are. There will be times where work will take over, but you need space for your personal self to thrive. So, work life balance to me means setting a schedule, letting my personal goals be known, achieving them, and resting.
I think work-life balance is a process.
Anytime I'm feeling like I can't be present, whether that's with my family, with my loved ones, with my family, or at work if I'm completing tasks and I'm feeling pulled in another direction, then that for me is how I'd identify that maybe there's an off balance.
I struggle with this, and that's one of the costs of having a job that I love. I also find lots of time to be with my family and have that shared and meaningful connection every day.
For me, I think of it as work-life flow. For me, if I think of it as work-life balance, I have this picture of a scale where there's these opposing forces and, one's higher and the other's lower. And for me, there's such an intersectionality between who I am as a person, my passions, and my profession, that for me, it's really a work-life flow because they kind of weave together a little bit more. Which can also make it tricky, right? Then it's hard to kind of create boundaries because you feel so passionate about what you do. For me, aligning my personhood and my profession is really important in order to have kind of work-life flow.
Work-life balance is just making sure that when you're at work, you can be the best version of yourself. And that only really can happen if you're nourishing yourself as well. I think the challenge is turning some of that compassion that you have for others towards yourself, and understanding that it's okay if you can get back to people at a certain range of time. I also think I struggle with work-life balance because I love my job so much. And so sometimes I don't notice that even though I love it, I still need a break from it. It's kind of like relationships too, right? Like you can't enmesh yourself so much. We always need a little bit of a break and a little bit of a break. And so that's definitely a challenge of, I love my job so much, I could just be here all day, every single day.
Well, I do tend to work a lot, and one of the challenges for me is being able to say no when something of that is asked of me and my plate is already really full. These challenges have been present for me at least since 5th grade, when I can remember choosing to stay indoor at recess one day to work on homework instead of getting outside and playing. How sad is that, period?
The way that life works out, I feel like there are times when I'm feeling really good about one part and not so good about another. But the most difficult times is when I'm feeling like I'm not doing a good job at any of it, and not having something that I can hold on to that can help continue to motivate me moving forward.
When you don't have structure, that's an automatic challenge. You won't keep up. You think you'll remember everything. You won't. So that in itself is a challenge. Another challenge that comes with work-life balance is that you feel like you have to do it by yourself. You don't. You need people. You need them to pick you up on days when you feel very tired. You need people to let you know, here's the goals you told me you wanted to achieve. You need people to step in when you simply can't. There's strength in that. Don't run from that, okay? Sometimes when we create a routine, we think we always have to stick to it. That's in life. That's in work. You don't. You can grow in that, and you can move to where you feel passionate about. So here's what I like to tell you. If you feel like you're stuck in work and you're stuck in your personal life, think about what you feel passionate about. Recognize that feeling, and then pivot. Go with what your spirit says. Go with what you know you can do. And that helps you feel more like yourself, whether you're at work or whether you're at home. Another thing in work-life balance is people think you don't deserve breaks. Yes, you do. Don't skip lunch. Eat and hydrate. Your body will thank you. Don't ignore those signs. You better pay attention to those signs.
And I think for me, 3 things that kind of make it possible or something to continually and consciously strive for is to have heightened awareness, clarity and then discipline. And what I mean by that is awareness of kind of who you are and where you're at and where you want to go and who you want to kind of continually evolve into, because that's going to inform that flow and I think shape how you approach it. Clarity to understand you have agency in your decisions, and we have a responsibility for the choices we make. And so sometimes when we're out of flow or out of balance, it's really easy to kind of look outward. And I think sometimes we got to go back inward and say, am I lacking perhaps some of the discipline, which is the third part, to kind of make those tough decisions and draw boundary lines and kind of know that sometimes there's a balance of what we can give others and what we kind of have to think about what we need in that moment to maintain our flow.
One of the things that I often recommend to students and graduates is think about what's been helpful to you in the past. If it's a connection with friends or peers, be sure to reach out and connect. If it has been counseling, consider different ways of finding and getting connected with counseling.
So if you're starting to sense that you're not balanced, then I would kind of nerdily do an audit of your life, right? What are the top 3 or 4 things that are important to you personally? What are the top few things that are important to you professionally? And see if you're actually living up to those things, right? So if you're finding that you don't have time to do that yoga practice that you developed, or you haven't checked in with your best friend in weeks, or the reports that you're writing are not as good, then I think then it's time to take a pause.
In order to identify what you need, it really is that self-assessment piece. So some things I think can be helpful are journaling, really writing down maybe before bed or in the morning. Again, varies depending on when you feel your brain functions the most. Some people are night owls, some people like to do things in the morning.
When I'm out of flow, I really have to pay attention to what my day looks like, and what are my patterns starting to look like, right? And what has kind of maybe crept in. What do I want to include more of? What do I want to maybe kind of chip away and take away kind of out of my patterns or out of my days that's maybe not supporting my success and my development? And so really kind of taking a pause to kind of think, how am I approaching my days? What patterns have crept in? I think when we, at least for me, when I'm busy, right, that's kind of the time when we need our routines and habits the most, and it's actually the time when we stop doing our routines and stop following our habits the most. And so, if you feel like you get out of rhythm and if you feel like you're out of balance and out of flow, go back to kind of, what are the habits? What do my days look like? What do I have to kind of double down on or have the discipline to do even when I'm tired, because those things will give you more energy.
So from going through those experiences of having that imbalance, I learned what it feels like to feel imbalanced. And I learned what were the things that I was not going to sacrifice in my life, right? So I wasn't going to work on somebody else's research agenda or just for the sake of publications or for somebody else. That wasn't nourishing to me. That didn't give me joy. And so when I eventually set up my life here at Loyola and in Baltimore, I knew from having those experiences what I wanted and what I didn't want.
The other thing I'd want folks to know is that I don't believe there's any one right way to do work-life balance, that each of us needs to find our own healthiest, most effective way.
Really reassessing your schedule, assessing maybe the things you've said yes to, looking at your to-do list in comparison to your time, and having that honest conversation. Maybe you do need to let some things go if you're feeling pulled in one direction more than another, or you don't have enough time for yourself. Find a companion who maybe you can talk to, who can offer some advice. Maybe they're in a similar situation, maybe they're not. And really, before doing so, asking if they have the bandwidth to take on that conversation. Really practicing maybe what you would want to receive if you're feeling overwhelmed.
Wherever you are, there are likely to be therapists available to you. There are 2 websites that I highly recommend. One is called The Shrink Space. And then Psychology Today is a much broader website where you can search by insurance, by your identities, the identities of the provider.
What are the self-care practices that you know are important to you that you need to be doing more of? And what are those things that you need to be doing less of right now, like spending time on social media, things that are not important to you? It does not and will not happen by accident. You really have to pay attention and calibrate as you go.
Here's how you know you're in your sweet spot when it comes to work-life balance. One, your mental is stable. Your mind is good at work and it's good at home, you're good. Number two, you set boundaries and you stuck to them. There's power in that. So own that. All right? So when your mental is good and your boundaries are set and you're following them, I say you're in your sweet spot.
For me, it would mean accomplishing what I've set out to accomplish, whether that's a personal goal or administration has set that goal for me. I'm meeting those needs. A sense of peace or separation, on the weekends if I'm not opening up my email or feeling behind and as if I'm catching up. That feels good to me, and I can again be present with my loved ones or whoever I'm in the presence of.
I'm in that sweet spot when my to-do list is nearly empty at the end of the day. I feel at peace. It's just something I know. I feel rested. I feel energized. I feel like I'm living my life guided by my values, and I'm not experiencing that inner dissonance that something is off for me. I've been productive, and I've had time to pause and reflect and notice those really important moments.
This work-life balance and the flow, it's not static. It's not like, oh, once I'm in the flow, you're in the flow forever. But when I'm in that moment, things just feel lighter, right? Things feel more doable. I have greater clarity on my own purpose, but also I feel like I'm giving my best self to others, which is really important to me.
The main lesson in this for me is that we really have to pay deliberate attention. And also, we have to find support systems that are going to help us hold ourselves accountable for working to achieve this balance in an ongoing way.